Now, let me give you just 5 quick thoughts that will help you when you are wanting to equip people. Let's take the word equip for a moment. The letter E stands for evaluate. Evaluate the people that you have around you. And you ask yourself the question that's on the right-hand side of your notes. How well can they do? And from a 1 to a 10. In other words, if I look at you and I'm getting ready to train you, I got to ask, okay, what's your potential? And this is kind of a guess in the beginning, perhaps, but I'll put a number on you. I think they're potentially a 7, whatever, okay. The letter Q in the word equip. You have to qualify them. You have to then put them in the job. And you got to look at them and you got to ask yourself very simply, how well did they do? Now, this is a lot easier. This is a lot easier to identify than the first one, and that is how well can they do. That's a little bit intangible. But after they do the job, you look back and say, okay, how well did they do? The letter U stands for unite with them. You not only evaluate them and qualify them, but then you unite with them and you say, okay, how well are we doing together? In other words, are we creating synergy? Are we multiplying ourselves? And then the letter I in the word equip, you've got to invest time with them. In other words, the time that I'm spending with the person that I'm equipping and training, is it profitable? Is this a good profitable time? And then the letter P, you've got to provide resources and experiences for them. Resources and experiences. Absolutely essential. Let's go to the letter A. Because when I think of a leader, I think of the word attitude. That is so huge. Because your attitude will determine your altitude. And if you look on the next page, I have a marvelous, marvelous thought by Charles Swindoll, a good friend of mine. And then at the bottom of the page, and I'm not going to read them right now. You can do this on your own. I talked to you about what is an attitude from my book, The Winning Attitude. And at the top of page 25, I talk about how our attitudes determine our capacity to lead others. And there are 20 questions of which I want you on your own to ask yourself. But if you'll allow me, I'm taking you now to the bottom of the page. Because the attitude that you have, or the attitude that I have, determines how we see 4 things. Are you ready? My attitude determines how I see myself. Because it is true. I cannot go any higher than my self-image. Always remember this. You can never rise higher than how you see yourself. What happens is if you have success above your self-image that is low will cause you to sabotage your success. You will literally pull down the thing that you are successful in to match your self-image. People do not become successful way beyond how they see themselves. So my attitude to myself is very important. My attitude determines how I see others. And notice this phrase. I cannot go any higher than my belief in people. Isn't that true? In fact, I love the quote that says, it's wonderful when the people believe in the leader, but it's even more wonderful when the leader believes in the people. My attitude, thirdly, determines how I see my business. Because I cannot go any higher than my dream for my career. And number 4, my attitude determines how I see my failures. Because I could not go any higher than my willingness to get back up. Isn't that true?